Hi guys, Richard here again. I've been having some deep thoughts about what it means to be human. Part of my research into anthropology, I suppose, an amateur scientist, philosopher, with some thought experiments and such like. So, as you may know, this is kind of repetitive, but it bears repeating. Our beliefs are very important because they drive our behaviour. How we think, what we think about, drives our behaviour, and so we need to pay more attention to what we actually do think and how we think and what our biases may be and what actually drives us to behave in certain ways. It's an extremely important subject. So again, as I said earlier, groups are very important in our lives, immense importance, because we're social animals. We all need to belong. God, do I know that? We all need to belong. And that's a real strong urge in people. They just hate to be on their own. It's just well known. You can see many relationships with couples who cannot be together but stick together because they can't face the alternative of being on their own and having to try to find someone else and take the risk of not doing so ever. It's scared the shit out of them. So this drive is very strong. This group behaviour, this kind of groupy sense of belonging, is very strong drive indeed. Possibly stronger than sex itself. And we also learn by example. That's also a very important facet of culture and communication that few people seem to understand because they're not taught it, I guess. But when you're a baby, all you can do is learn by example. You can't be taught verbally because you don't get the language yet. So the way you can learn is to learn by example, by observing people and cats and dogs and whatever, and associating the sounds that people make, these word things. So say doggy, you go, oh doggy, So or mum or whatever, or fire, or ouch, It's all by association. So these ideas we have in our head, or wherever it is, we believe it's in our head. These things we call ideas, these concepts floating around somewhere in some dimension or other, have a massive impact on our behaviour, of course. So how the ideas get there is a very important subject indeed. And lo and behold, we aren't taught about it in schools, if ever, anywhere. So the ideas get there, as I say, by repetition, association of events. So the brain is hardwired by evolution to notice repetition of events and associate them together. That's how learning occurs fundamentally, I'm sure of it. Feel free to check for yourselves. It's very basic, primitive stuff, but that's how it has to be to explain how we actually evolved to learn things. It has to be simple and profound, of course. So the brain is hardwired to notice repetition of events, the sensory experiences that occur together at the same time, in the same place, or at the same time really, of course. what we perceive is all in the same place as in here. We believe in the brain. It's the perception and stuff of the world out there, as it were, is actually in here. And we conflate the stuff out there with the thing in here, which is doing the actually observing stuff. So in terms of perception, these events all occur in the same place, very, very close together, literally true, at the same time. So the memory association of learning process just means noticing things at the same time in here as perceived. So no matter where they occur in this greater reality, this four-dimensional space or whatever, how many dimensions it has, this universe thing, we perceive it in here, in this thing. That makes a model of the world out there via observation of events, perceived events flying off in here. And those events get connected together via association of being at the same time. So locally in the head, in the brain, these events get triggered via sensitive perceptions, go bing, 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 bing all at the same time. And you take kind of snapshots each, I don't know. Let's say a computer could do it every second easily. So every second you take a snapshot of perception and thereby build a model of the world as you go along. And so, the primary ideas in our culture, as espoused by our leaders and media influencing people, the power people, especially those ideas, like the kings and queens and the religions, and the Murdochs and people like that, the celebrities, the TV stations, those centres of influence, of power and persuasion, also extremely important in our society, very, very important indeed. So what drives them, their agenda, is extremely important indeed. Note, please. And so, if we take an idea like selfishness, for example, now there's no denying that occurs, that's a real thing. We all know that, I can't deny being selfish myself sometimes, it's just natural. But we have to care for ourselves in order to care for others, so that we have a kind of built-in need to be selfish to keep ourselves healthy and fit and able to do things. Otherwise we can't ever have a society at all. Hint. So if this cultural idea of selfishness becomes the norm, which it seems to have done to a large extent, because you get example after example after example of people being selfish, especially sometimes our political leaders. I know they're doing it, but it's just becoming normal practice to be selfish. And because it's normal practice, when other people grow up, from babies through childhood and so forth, they observe the whole world with individuals being selfish, they themselves kind of think, perhaps, or just get the idea that it's okay to be selfish. And so they have the kind of social proof, peer pressure, permission to be selfish, even though they may realise intellectually it may not be wise to do that. You know, it's in the extreme. It gets very criminal and painful and hurtful. So there's this conflict within people which is overridden by the actual mass examples of particular behaviour. And because it's normal, because it's group behaviour, any individual born into that group, into that culture, would struggle not to adopt the same behaviour. They just adopt it by default because they're born into it. They learn by example. Many examples of being selfish, and so they become selfish themselves and accept behaviour which might otherwise be considered to be kind of nasty, because everybody's doing it. So, as I pointed out in my homelessness video, that's a barbaric practice in my view, because these people can't cope, hence they end up on the streets because they literally can't cope for whatever reason, just bad luck in many cases, or simply no money these days because the rents are so freaking high and prices are going through the roof. So that's a very, very barbaric, normal practice. And because it's normal, people think, well, okay, I'll do what others do, they just walk past and ignore them, or piss at them, or whatever. So, yeah. What if we all adopted a more caring attitude? You know, just as a thought experiment. What if we all were to do that, as we used to do, to a large extent? In my experience, in my life, we started out much more caring of each other than we are now. There's been quite a shift in recent decades, a shift towards being more selfish and less caring, and more bad examples being set by influential figures. So these bad examples then spread throughout society. Yeah, I'm quite concerned about this culture, our society, disintegrating before our eyes. Quite concerned. And when you take conservative ideas like family values, for example, there's a kind of self-centered mindset. Yeah, of course, once you care for your family, of course, it's beyond doubt. Obvious. But not at the expense of others. So if you hear these family values being espoused without actually saying what they are, often, these ill-defined, fuzzy family values, repeated over and over again, then the culture as a whole, via broadcast TV and so forth, may tend to adopt a family values mindset at the expense of other people. Or take an idea, a concept like capitalism. As I said before, it's not all the costs of production are taken into account. In particular, pollution. As far as I know, it's hardly ever costed in financial terms, ever. But it does have a cost. We all know that cost. So you get behaviour like people throwing their litter out there out the window onto the verge, for the slow moving queue of cars. I've seen one dual carriageway in Coventry, just mile after mile after mile of verges full of plastic bottles and bags and tubs and all kinds of stuff. People just throw things out the window, and they do that because loads of people throw things out the window. It's normal behaviour now. Just throw things out the window. Somebody else will clear it up. Of course they will. That's what I pay them for. And it is. This behaviour is just sickening. If it's not outright evil, it's just bloody insane. I can't figure out exactly how it arises, but it's immensely destructive. These bad examples, just awful. So yeah, I suggest we try being more caring for each other, and maybe other people get the message by our example. I do my best. It's quite tricky for this position of little influence, but yeah. So I'm hoping you'll get the message and spread the word, please. By example, by also sharing this video and subscribing and liking or whatever, the score, the dance, the routine. So yeah, this is one hell of a video. Bit mind blowing, but there you go. Thanks for watching so far, and I'll talk to myself later and hope you're listening. Bye.